trending topic right now, kind of, people are searching it, people are asking questions about it, is psychological safety. And I even think, that can kind of tie into maybe some of what people, battle with in the midst of healing from infidelity. And so I would love to just talk about psychological safety. What is it? What are some practical tips that you would give as a counselor to create that?
Yeah. So when people talk about being safe, and there's physical safety, which is, my body and physically is, am I free from threat? Am I in danger of being harmed? Am I not being in danger of being harmed? And then when we look at it as what you're saying, more of a psychological safety kind of piece. And so, contrary to what people may think, being safe actually, in most cases, especially psychologically, starts with me. My safety starts with me, which is interesting because a lot of times we assume that our safety starts with the people around us. But that simply is not true, at least in the case of adults. There is a time in our life where our safety, including our psychological safety, really is dependent on those around us. And that time of life is obviously childhood.
Right.
But once we become adults, we really do step into this role of being the primary keeper of our safety. And so being psychologically safe, what I would think about, with somebody is things like, do I know how to be wise in the types of people and the types of situations I allow myself to be in, the people I allow myself to be around. Who am I gravitating towards? Who am I attempting to form relationships with in that? What does that look like, for me? Being psychologically safe also means, what's my capacity? And probably really significant is, what's my capacity to be honest with myself? Because in a lot of cases, when we're looking at psychological safety, there's a lot that I need to look at in me. I really need to take the focus as much as I can off of what's outside here, and I really need to bring it back here, which takes a lot of courage to do. And in many cases, being psychologically safe means that you may need some help being able to see yourself, being able to put the focus here, being able to understand what's going on with you in here. In that, that's where, a counselor, in some cases a mentor, and other things can be helpful to you. But really, as I think about this idea of being safe, it is centrally my responsibility. It's centrally like, what is going on in me? Because out of what's going on in me is how I'm going to interact with the world. It's how I'm going to maybe remove myself from relationships that are dangerous. It's how I'm going to learn how to find people that are caring and safe people to be around. It's how I'm going to learn to identify the difference between a mistake or a hurt that happens in a healthy relationship and injury that happens in a toxic relationship. And so those are just some thoughts with that. I'm really big believer in myself, that I need to look here a lot. I need to understand here a lot what's going on with me when it comes to safety.
Yeah. Would you say that psychological safety and emotional safety are like two different things?
If I'm honest, I don't know, because a lot of it may come down to just what people are entering into a Google search in that. I think what people probably mean when they enter that, my guess would be, they're just looking for this idea of, how can I relate to a world where there's pain and there's hurt and there's hurting people? What does that look like? And how do I negotiate and make sense of my own pain as I try to interact with that world?
I think a lot of people are craving psychological, emotional safety right now, through this year.
Yeah. And so probably that's the thrust behind it. And so it's a really big thing. That's a really complicated question. It's more than just, how do I relate in the sense of how do I know what a safe relationship is? It has to do with grieving, because it's not a question of whether or not you'll have to grieve in this life. It's will you, and will you do that well? How will you navigate and heal from pain, which is inevitable in life? How will you deal with things like what you have control over and what you don't? And so my hunch would be people entering that. There's probably a whole host of things that are going in to those keystrokes that they're entering into the search engine.
Yeah. Well, how about we just talk for a minute about, if that is the kind of heart behind why people are, searching this and looking for answers about this, what are some maybe practical ways to feel that, like, emotional, psychological, whatever sort of safety, especially with everything happening in the world right now. What would you suggest as a counselor in kind of achieving that?
So probably one of the most important things is actually counter to what maybe many people would initially think, which would be we actually need to get very good at being able to feel kind of at our core what our core emotions are, which is different than maybe what people are thinking. Because when people say I want to feel safe, many times what they're saying is I want to get away from whatever this experience is inside of me. I want to numb this. I want to make this go away. And believe it or not, the harder we try to do that, the worse off we are. And so, as I talk with people, there are certain emotions that are things that we feel that are not quite at the core of what we're actually, like our core emotions. So things that people feel, which are kind of hamster wheel emotions, would be things like being stuck in anxiety or being stuck in shame, stuck in guilt, those kinds of things. And what we really need to be able to do is go underneath of those and to be able to connect with actual core emotions like fear or like sadness, like anger, those kinds of things. And to be able to get close to those and to be able to connect with those, and to be able to connect with others on those. People are amazed to find out that as they do that, as they're able to do that, they go from wanting to numb everything to becoming resilient and being able to face what's out there, which is really important and fundamental and a very important shift that needs to take place. We go from I need the world to be safe, I need the world to be what I need it to be, to I can be resilient in the world that I have. I can be resilient with reality. And that because I'm now doing what I'm designed to do, what God has made me to do, to be able to process through what it is that's happening and to access, to kind of build up that resiliency and to be able to go out, as one man put it just the other day in session. He said, I feel like I can get up again. I feel like I can get up and go out and do what I need to do now. We just taken time to connect with those emotions in him. It really does bring out your capacity for being resilient.